Heritage Month. Coming to the end of it. And I'm talking today about servants of God, Franciscan martyrs of Georgia. This Franciscan martyrs of Georgia. That's someone's picture of them, conception of what they looked like, because they lived a long, long time ago. But anyways, yes, they were missionaries, Franciscan missionaries, much like Junipero Serra, our friend Saint Juniper, out in California, who was also Franciscan. But these guys were in coastal Georgia, where the Spanish were also colonizing Georgia and Florida and stuff like that. So they were there, and they set up missions, just like Juniper did. Set up missions in they set up missions amongst the Guale Indians. This was in the late 1500s, in the 1590s, amongst the Guale. I have no idea if the Guale are still there.
So
Franciscan. Yeah, Franciscan friars. They were missionaries in Georgia amongst the Guale, the Native Americans there. What happened to the Guale, I don't know, but if you know anything about American history, it probably wasn't positive. So I don't know if they're there anymore or they've been relocated like Oklahoma or someplace like that. Anyways. Nevertheless, they were working amongst them, living amongst the Guale, and converting some of them. Some of them became Christians. Some of the Guale became Christians. And they were just living there. There's no military presence or anything. They were just living with these people, talking about their faith, and were apparently well respected by the Indians until, because they are the Georgia martyrs, the Franciscan martyrs of Georgia, until one Christian, a Christian, not even a non-Christian, but some guy who was a Christian chief. He was a chief in one of the tribes. His name was Juanillo. I'm assuming is a Hispanic name. It sounds Hispanic to me. It doesn't sound Indian or Native American, but I could be wrong. Anyways, his name was Juanillo, and he was married, and he was a chief, and he wanted to marry a second wife, because that was, polygamy was part of their culture, as it is with a lot of cultures around the world. Men can have many wives, or women can have many husbands, stuff like that. So there's nothing unusual to the Guale. But it was unusual to the Franciscan Christians, who said, no, if you're a Christian now, you can only be married to one person, a man and a woman, united singly until death. And Juanillo did not like that too much. Even though he was a Christian, he decided that they needed to go away. And by go away, Ms. Ying, I don't mean leave. He meant he's going to kill them. So he got he got some Guale natives together with him to go and kill the friars. Some of the Christians tried to warn the friars, but they wouldn't believe them, and they wouldn't flee, so they ended up getting killed. So yeah, but like 5 guys got killed based on their teaching of, or at least one of their, I don't know if the other guys even knew why they were being killed. The Indians just showed up in their village or their mission and kill them. But for teaching the faith on marriage, they were martyred. What were their names? Well, the guy who opposed the marriage, the second marriage, was Friar Pedro de Corpa. He was killed in 1597. No, it was September 14th, so right around this time. Killed in 1597 by Juanillo and his men. Then they went on to kill Friar Miguel de Añón, Antonio de Badajoz. Who else? Blas de Rodriguez and Francisco de Verascola. Hope that covers them all. But anyways, and they're servants of God. So they're on the beginning track to sainthood. Who knows how far it will go? I don't know which diocese opened their cause. I would presume the Archdiocese of Savannah, or the Diocese of Savannah, Georgia. I would guess, because that's what they were killed. And even though it wasn't, at the time, it was Spanish territory, technically, it was part of Georgia. which was one of the original 13 colonies, so which later became the United States. So just like with Junipero Serra, that's good enough for me. I'll assume they're Americans. I'll treat them as if they're Americans. So I ask for their prayers for us in this class. Speaking of violence, yes. Alrighty. Uh-oh. It's not good. Where was I? Anthropology. Talking about anthropology.
Animals.
Huh?
Animals.
Wait a second. Wait a second. Are you people really listening to me?
Yeah.
What's wrong with you people? You would think so, Mr. Gracie, but you would really think so. Mr. Anderson. Case in point, Mr. Gracie.
Hey, I was talking to Mr. Ruddle. Mr. Ruddle was.
I know, he can be distracting.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Okay. Oh, yeah, we were reading from Barbara King, Involving God. Okay. I shouldn't make light of her. I mean, I'm sure she's got a well thought out theory in her book. But, I mean, a lot, in the ancient world, I mean, I wasn't there, she wasn't there. And so how can you kind of extrapolate how things would have evolved or what the weather conditions might have been? Or if you kind of know what the weather conditions were, if you take ice cores and stuff like that and figure out what the world temperature was at the time, or, was there a lot of carbon in the air at the time and dirt and dust? Okay, but how did that affect hominids, and how did that make them evolve an idea of a god, Maybe they did. Then maybe that is what happened. But it seems to me it's like more like someone trying to explain how it happened. They need an explanation. Sometimes we need an explanation for everything. And we can't. Neuroscience hasn't been able. We thought that by picking apart the brain and we figure out where the soul is or where the soul comes from or consciousness. We still haven't cracked that nut. I mean, we know pretty much how the brain works, or at least we know a lot about how the brain works. But we don't know, where does consciousness come from? How do you go from chemical reactions to consciousness? We can't make that jump. So I understand people want to know why or how. What can all of this mean for religion and violence? The study of humanity. Well, if religion is so embedded in culture, in human culture, okay, you could argue, Ms. Colonna, that it starts to make the division and this. Hold on a second. Oh, I got it. Oh, man. Sorry, miss. I don't want to look. I should know. No, not Ms. Durant. No, I know where you are. I got you down. Got other people down.
Come on.
Oh, yes, Ms. Lazarus. Sorry, Ms. Lazarus. Ms. Lazarus, yeah. Alrighty. Okay, so if religion can be established as something that's like an essential part of human culture, okay, then where is the boundary? Where's the dividing line then between something that's purely religious or purely violent? Doesn't it kind of start to make that boundary between violence and religion or religious violence fuzzy? What is religious violence then? How do you tell the difference between violence that's purely religious? How do you identify it as opposed to violence that's political?
Dr. Dunn, you told me, right? You told me.
I mean, I don't know. Who do you identify as purely religious violence? I mean, because You know, if you read some books, like one of the most famous, what's the guy's name? Jürgen Meyer, somebody, German name, Jürgen Meyer, I think is his name, wrote a famous book. Alright. I forget the title. I bought a copy of the book, but I gave it away because it was way too long. I had no intention of reading it. But anyway, it's a famous book. And the guys, like the opening pages, you know, like every war, or almost every war of humanity has been caused in some way by religion. And that was the common shtick about 20 years ago. War, especially after September 11th, when, you know, they apparently, I guess they were they were motivated by their Islamic religion. They flew the planes into the World Trade Center buildings, into the Pentagon. I don't know where the plane that was shot down here in Pennsylvania, I don't know where that was going. No clue what they were doing with that one. Or if maybe they were trying to figure out on the way. Well, we'll figure out where we're going to go. I don't know. Anyways, okay, you know, it might have been religiously motivated violence. I'm assuming they were apparently religious characters, the people who did it. I mean, they didn't have religious beliefs. They also have political beliefs. You know? I don't know that they left any manifesti. You know, you always want to look for the manifesto, right, Ms. Krause? Ever someone goes shoot someplace up or blow something up, you know. Manifesto, you know, you go to a person's Facebook page or you go YouTube or, you know, whatever, trying to find out if they left any message or video explaining the reasoning or why they did what they did. I don't think any of the guys in 9/11 did actually do any of that. They just did it. Anyways, so there was a question. I mean, because I was alive then. You weren't alive then, right? Was anyone born around 2000? Certainly not in the 90s. None of you was born in the 90s, right? The 1990s? I'm assuming. But I still remember the day. I mean, I was right across the Hudson River. I was teaching at a Catholic high school. It's like the first and last time I was ever going to do that. But I still remember my students coming into class, you know, with all sorts of stories about, oh, you know, we're under attack. Someone, you know, smashed planes into this building or that building. And it was still, of course, very, very new, you know, the information. I don't even know where they got the information from, because that was like 20 years ago. So, I mean, cell phones, there were cell phones, but there wasn't like, the cell phones back then were like archaic compared to today, you know. You get text messages and stuff, but you weren't surfing the internet on your cell phone. Not 20 years ago. So I don't know where they found out, but they did. Anyways. And, you know, I went outside the school, was just right across the river. I couldn't see the buildings. I could see the smoke. Every war has a religious motive. Well, that's when, you know, people started getting interested in this connection between religion and violence. I can tell you that. Before that, not that people didn't talk about, say, violence and religion, but, you know, but usually it was focused on the problem in Israel and the Palestinians. You know, the Jews killing Palestinians and Palestinians killing Jews. Some of that which was religious, or Northern Ireland, which was still a problem when I was growing up. You don't know this, but I do. You know, you had Irish Catholics being oppressed by the Protestant majority of Northern Ireland, and you had these Irish Catholic groups blowing stuff up and all sorts of things. So that was religious violence. Okay, so all right, so we now have two places in the world that there's religion and violence are coming together. How do you know? But again, with anthropology, as an anthropologist, doesn't it make it kind of fuzzy? How do I know it's purely religious violence? Yeah, it could be a guy. Go ahead.
I was saying, like, just the motive is pure religion.
But how do you know the motives of someone who's throwing a bomb?
You don't, unless you're trying to apprehend, you gotta get them. You gotta actually these things.
Well, I mean, I guess you could talk to a suicide bomber's head. Don't try to.
You can't do that. That case, you look for a manifesto, like you said.
Yeah, but what if you don't have one?
Then you can't assume that it's just straight religious violence.
So why do we? Why do we assume that some guy goes to a bus stop in Israel, blows up the bus? Well, they can't really do that a lot anymore because Israel has built a wall. But before that, yeah, it was very common in the news that people they'd go to bus stops because that's where a lot of people were. Someone would get on the bus and blow himself up. So all you have are pieces and parts of the guy.
You could be assumptions as well.
I was gonna say, would that just be the
At that
outside
point,
perspective?
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. Because the immediate assumption would be, oh yeah, it was religious. This was a Muslim trying to kill Jews, a Muslim Palestinian trying to kill Jews. Okay, maybe he had a religious motivation. But again, all I can do is talk to his head, Mr. Lynch, which isn't attached to his body anymore. Right, Ms. Coe?
If he has a head, if he
Maybe you can talk to his spirit.
His experience?
His spirit.
His spirit? Maybe. I'm a supernaturalist, Ms. Coe.
Then I can pull up the Ouija board.
Well, no, that would be a sin. That's forbidden. No, he has to consult the spirits like that. No, that would be more of a sin if I did it intentionally. Couldn't do that.
Very true.
But when you watch, remember I have a video of Karen Armstrong. I forget if we're going to watch it in class or if I'm having you. No, because I don't have you doing any papers, right? No assignments like that. But we're going to watch a talk by a lady called Karen Armstrong who wrote a book about religion and violence. And one of her points that she makes in the talk is, where am I going with this? No, I've got to follow line. I'm getting too ahead of myself in my train of thinking. They leave videos, a lot of these jihadists, Muslim terrorists, as they say, they will make a video before they commit the act so that you know why they're doing it. So they they want you to know, I'm doing it. But then again, it still muddies the water of whether it's religious or not, because Armstrong will point out in that video that we'll watch, eventually, not now, that, yeah, they'll talk about religion, they're doing this for God, but then they'll throw in all sorts of political statements as well, the oppression of Israel and the Palestinians and all blah, blah, blah. And so it's all mixed, all sorts of religion with politics, it's all kind of mixed together. So it's fuzzy again, Mr. Klitsch. It becomes fuzzy. Religion is part of human society, but so is religion. So how do you know which is purely just violence for the sake of violence, or I'm really doing it because I have a religious motive? Or even more importantly, Ms. Lazarus, that my religion is telling me to be violent. It's specifically motivating me, Ms. Colonna, for violence. Yeah, go ahead.
could it indirectly tell you?
Explain.
Saying if it directly tells you or tells someone who follows a religion to be violent, could you if it wasn't meant to be violent, but you interpret it as violence?
Okay. Do you have any examples in mind specifically?
No, I'm just, but
So so it's a misinterpretation is what you're saying?
right, would that still be religious violence?
Possibly, I guess. Again, like Mr. Bracy said, going back to motive, what's my motivation? If it's purely religious, then I guess. I have to think about that. It's curious. Anyone have any ideas? Any thoughts, Ms. Howerton?
I was actually wondering what your thoughts were, Professor Dunn, on this topic.
Thank you, Ms.
I
Howerton.
mean, what is your opinion on the question you asked?
Yes, Ms. Howerton. You need to check. You're not one of my athletes. You don't play volleyball, do you? Ms. Howerton.
What about volleyball? I don't play them.
Or pickleball. Pickleball.
Baller.
Pickleball's fire. Have you
That
played
way
pickleball?
you hit the ball through
Well, someone hits the ball to you and then you hit the ball back is my point, Ms. Howard. Croquet. You are. Okay. But no thoughts on what Mr. Ruddle might have said.
Well, I mean, what Mr. Ruddle said actually had me thinking about what your opinion on the topic was. That actually was like,
I've given enough of my opinion. I'd rather hear yours. Okay. What is wrong with this? I mean, why are you being so... I shouldn't have.
really, I think indirectly telling. That's what Mr. Ruddle said.
All right, Miss Howerton. All right. All right. Interesting, Ms. Ruddleton. Ms. Howerton. Ms. Ruddleton. Anyways, interesting. So is it religious or is it political, you know? He's a jihadist, so Islam, jihad, fighting. Yeah?
Both.
It could be.
Yeah, I think both at that point. Well, in that example that you mentioned, I think.
Do most people in the United States follow a religion? What do you think?
Yeah.
I would say, yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
There's
Okay.
there's the minority that just doesn't.
Yeah, there are people who don't, you know, the nuns.
What do you classify as like following a religion?
Just adhere to its beliefs. If you said to someone on it, not necessarily practicing devoutly, but if you went up on the street and said, okay, you know, which religion, do you identify with a religion? Christian,
I would say-
Jew.
Yes.
Okay. I would agree with that because I've seen the statistics and yeah, the majority of Americans seem to identify a belief in God or an association with Christianity, usually Christianity. After Christianity, well, it's mostly Christianity. There aren't a lot of Jews in the United States. So it's mostly Christianity, less Muslims and Buddhists. All right. But especially, would you think in the past it was maybe more religious a country? You think so? Like the 1940s, do you think it was a very more religious than it is today? And yeah.
Yeah. I think so.
So Ms. Cook. Yeah.
Wait.
Okay, go ahead.
Present today, it's just not as openly talked about. It's more judgment and more opinions that are inserted, whereas back in the day, everyone pretty much had a religion and believed in it, and it was respected. Except like now, when you have a religion or you have an opinion on something, you like die for it.
Really?
Well,
You just a lot of people would die for their religion?
no, I think what you're saying is. Sorry, I'm like.
said, Ruddle.
Right, Ruddle, right?
Ruddle, right?
But I'm like even
It's
thinking
like
about
Benefit.
it's like necessarily that they would like in terms of today they would die for their religion, but like even I know it's a sensitive topic to some people, but like even the Charlie Kirk incident,
Okay.
like he had his opinion and he has his beliefs and he was a heavily Christian follower, but because of his beliefs and because of his opinions, he died for that.
So how do you separate well, I guess what I'm looking at is like just our culture. Is America a religious culture?
Wait, can I step back into this one?
Yeah, no.
Well, I feel like America is
Just as much, if not less than other countries and their religions, right? Because when you go over to like India and like, other countries, they practice their religion very heavily and it's like, frowned upon that they don't have religions, but definitely in America, there are a lot of people who come here for the freedom of religion and respect.
Get away from religion?
freedom to have the option to choose in what they believe in.
Oh, okay, what they want to believe. All right, interesting. But even, now I lost you, now you're going. You said your
Had to
piece
go.
and you're out of here, right?
I'm sorry.
All right. I'm trying to get at like, where's the line between, is it something cultural or something religious? How do you determine it? But like, if you think that, say in the 1940s, America was a very religious country, right, Ms. Cook?
Mhm.
Do you agree? Anything that, Ms. Bologna? Or- So, Mr. Henry, Mr. Lynch, when we dropped 2 atom bombs on the Japanese, it was that an act of religious violence? That's not okay. Was it an act of religious violence? War, wasn't it? It was. Yeah, was it a religious war? Why not? It was political. How do you know that? But we've established in our opinion that most of the people around that time were very religious. They were religious, not what they were doing. Okay, so do you think that? Do you think people in the 1940s and World War II were like a religious war?
No, I think that religion was stronger at that point in time because of all the political war going on, so they, like, people had a bigger grasp on faith.
Okay. But it was not a religious war. No,
I don't know, I think,
And what about the Jews? That was the Jew situation, World War II. That was
That was religious.
Aren't the Jews that's just true?
That was religious, but
Oh, so it was a religious war then? We were there to save the Jews?
some of it.
So it could be somewhat of a religious war.
Yes.
Humanity into do.
How so?
Think back to World War II, right, where we just try to save the lives of the lives,
Hmm? Maybe.
humanity, right?
Okay. Humanity is. All right, excuse me, sir. But I'm thinking like, if most of the people dropping the bombs and shooting are religious people, how is it not a religious war then? Okay, how do you know that?
Just because they follow religion doesn't mean it's
Okay, so what would they have to have done to qualify the Second World War as a religious war, act of religious violence? I mean, did Hitler, since he was going after the Jews, was that religious violence?
Sure, insanity.
Why? Makes sense to him? He wasn't right in the head. He was a madman.
Picking up what I'm putting down.
Okay, yeah, he was a madman.
Something. And he didn't like Jews, so that's what I'm saying.
Well, a lot of people didn't like the Jews.
Opinionated.
He didn't come from nowhere. I mean, someone had to buy what he was selling, right?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
It's not like, there was a lot of hatred for Jewish people, and so that was the solution. That was his solution. In what way?
In the way that he thought the way he was feeling was correct, and who was Hitler before he had this idea? Wasn't he some personal power? So,
Not really. He joined the political. He just joined the political party, the Nazi political party. It was a political party, the Socialist Workers' Party,
right.
and he got involved with them and moved up.
So then we say that it was just
Well, let's just be more specific. Why did the Second World War start specifically?
like perfect world people.
No. I know that we have to kind of disentangle the mythology from what was going on there. Enlighten.
To learn.
Okay, good. Well, first and foremost, and I'm not an expert, I'm not a historian. I did minor in history, but I'm not an historian, so I would take that with a grain of salt. If you want actual, real stuff, talk to your history teachers here. because they can tell you better than I can, and they can correct anything that I'm wrong about. But no, he didn't want Hitler did believe there was a perfect race, which was the German race, but he wanted to simply unite the Germans for wherever they were for Germany. Wherever they were, in Austria, in parts of Czechoslovakia at the time, Poland, parts of Poland where there were German populations, and he was going to unite the German nation. That was it.
Look their life, he just decided that.
You mean the Jews or the other groups? Well, that comes into play because he identifies the Jews as non-German entities within the Germans. So you have to get them out.
Here.
Oh yeah. Oh, Jews? No. Yeah. Which was not, I would say, even not necessarily even a religious opinion. It's not that just because they were of a certain religious group, they were just not German enough for him. They didn't have that. Yeah. Well, no, not opinionated. I don't know if, not opinionated in that sense. Basically, it started because there was land that Poland had that he said was once part of Germany and it had Germans in it, so we should have that because it's Germans are there, not Poles. And so we're going to take it away from you. And that's how it started. Okay? And because Poland was allied with other countries like the United Kingdom and France, they declared war on Germany. Before that, they were kind of trying to leave Germany alone. If Hitler wanted to unite all the Germans, go ahead, just leave us alone, But once he invaded Poland, they couldn't turn a blind eye because an ally had been attacked. We didn't go into, when did we go into the Second World War? When did we go into it? Started in, 1939?
We went in.
You went in later, right? To save the Jews, right? We heard about the atrocities. Not at all. What happened to us? Yeah, the Japanese attacked us. Not even the Germans. But because the Germans are allies of the Japanese and the Italians were, allies with both of them, we had to declare war on all of them. We didn't drop atomic bombs on the Germans. We did that twice on the Japanese.
Was that the big boy bomb and the little boy bomb?
Why would, but Ms. Cook, aren't we a Christian nation? Aren't most people in this country follow a religion, Christianity? So was it religious violence that motivated them?
No,
No?
I don't think so.
Even though it might have been Christians dropping the bombs?
Could have been, but that doesn't mean they're following religious moves.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I got you, but Ms. Cook, what did you want? What do you want to say?
I think that even if you were to classify it as religious, like Hitler, if you were to classify this as like his religious beliefs and why he started that war, that doesn't mean that I wouldn't classify it as a religious war. So I don't think a majority of the people wanted that. I think that if you don't follow the leader, then you get killed and you're just trying to save yourself, so you're going to do what you're told.
But why do you think so many Germans got on board so quickly about eradicating the Jews? And so why didn't they want them around? What was wrong with them? They're nice people. I mean, I'm not big into kosher food. I mean, a little bland for me. All right, but a kugel every now and then, or a bagel, some clean cream cheese. Go ahead.
Opinion. It goes to opinion. If one person doesn't like a certain race and they have the smallest bit of power, then everyone else to save themselves is gonna back up the person with power to save themselves. They do that in a heartbeat. So it still just goes back to opinion. It's not like these people weren't nice or they probably did stuff wrong, but they started to hold it against them.
Okay, but why did people even have a certain opinion of the Jews?
Because they were different.
They were different. How so? What's different about them? Did they really look that different? Is that all right? So some, some people thought they did. Oh, yeah, that's true. There were stereotypes.
But also been from economic instability.
Yes.
Not part of the reason why he pointed the finger, because the Jews were being successful, but other parts of Germany were.
Yes, the Germans were suffering after the First World War, and they kind of were looking for, or at least some people think Hitler was looking for a scapegoat. And yeah, the Jews might have been doing better economically, and because in one, if you take world religion, we've got to talk about, he describes Hitler in Mein Kampf describes the Jews as vampires. They suck your blood, they're like parasites. They suck you dry. Okay, but that might have been Hitler's motivation. Yeah, Hitler was not a religious man. Okay, that we know. He was not a believer. But a lot of other people were Christians and Catholics in Germany. Reading their gospel, their stories of Jesus, the Jew. Love your enemy, turn the other cheek. Off to the concentration camps. How did they buy into it? Go ahead.
Do you think that they could have just been using the fact that they were religious, to save themselves, giving them an excuse of why they could kill all of these people and say that it was religious and that they're Christians and just doing the right thing to kind of
Why would they be doing the right thing? What did the Jews ever do to them? No, that's true. Is that a problem?
They probably was Hitler.
No, as I said, Hitler wasn't that really religious. What we know of him, he wasn't.
could it just be
Certainly
male
wasn't
mind and
Christian.
jealousy?
You know that. Good Jesus. Yeah.
Could it just be the male mind and jealousy?
Uh-oh. The Mary mind, yes.
Oh. Yes.
I guess what I'm wondering, wondering a lot is what was the Jews' relationship to Christians? What relationship did they have? Where did they come from? Well, where did the Christians come? I should say, right? Where did the Christians come from? The Christians. Who are the Christians worshiping? Jesus. Oh God. Well, let's hope. You never did. Jesus the Christ, yes? The Christ of whom? What is the Christ?
I think I tried.
Go ahead.
Is it because? Oh, never mind. I lost it.
All right. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
If we were to get into World War III right now, would you consider that a religious war?
Well, I mean, it's hypothetical,
Yeah.
but it depends on how it happened. Why is the person doing it? I agree with Mr. Ruddle. That's the intention. Okay, but I'm looking also at the context. Yeah. I'm not, but most of the people, other people were religious. I'm trying to get at the point of why would his anti-Jewish rhetoric motivate a whole bunch of people that, yeah, we got to get rid of the Jews. We agree with you. Why would they agree with it? A lot of them are Christians. Jesus was a Jew. Jesus was a Jew. They were afraid of them. No, they might have been afraid of the Jews, but they kind of hated them too.
Wait, Jesus was Jewish?
Yeah, he started Christianity.
Jesus was a Jewish man.
Yeah.
Jesus was a Jew. From Palestine, yes.
Yeah.
But what did he apparently claim to be? What was his importance for Judaism?
Son of God.
Well, son of God, but something just more basic than that.
Oh, man. Then he claimed to be saving me. I don't know.
Well, why was he hung on the cross? On the cross, what was the charge on the cross? What was the crime he apparently... Yeah, yes, go ahead.
No. They didn't like what he was telling people, and they went against their rules. And he was like, hey, like, this is like what I believe, or this is what's right, not like what's right, like, believe it or don't. And he had followers and they didn't like him.
That's true. Yeah, Jesus had a community. He was making claims about himself and gathering followers, but for what? What was he trying to do? Yes, Ms. Colonna.
No, I was just gonna say he sacrificed himself. So, as establishing of the leader.
Okay, what was his belief? What was one of his beliefs? The one that got him killed, probably.
Let me just lemons.
It's just odd.
Is that what it says on the cross? Jesus, he said he was God. What's the charge on the cross? What did the Romans say his crime was? What did Jesus say? Jesus, the Son of God.
Was he healing people and then like people doesn't move?
No, healing's a good thing, isn't it? Yeah.
It's good.
What did you say, Ms. Lazarus? What do you got?
Because in church they was something like Jesus was on the cross and he died for our sins, but
Okay.
they never really told us. I mean, they probably did. I just don't know.
Okay. No, that's fine. That's honest.
Wasn't he challenging like the Roman authorities? Could they did right on his like cross the King of the Jews?
Ah, yes. The charge. What? What are you trying to say? The charge on the cross was not, I am the Son of God. Although, I believe that Jesus did make those claims. That's why he got in trouble with the religious authorities. But the Romans were political. They didn't care about Jesus claiming to be a god or anything like that. He claimed to be a king, a ruler. And that was a direct challenge to their authority. He was a seditionist, so he was executed, apparently, because of that. The Jews betrayed him. They didn't accept him as their king. So Christians remembered that. Christianity comes out of Judaism. They're followers of Jesus the Jew, the early Christians. They're the Christians. They're the Jews who acknowledge Jesus as the Christ, the Messiah, the King of Israel. The other Jews reject him. So, that kind of festers, that dislike. The Jews rejected Jesus. They even killed Jesus. Some people will go that far to accuse the Jews collectively of having even killed him, even though it was the Romans who killed him technically. But so how do you get, so a whole bunch of Christians are already primed in the 1940s for someone who himself already hates the Jews for whatever reason, but certainly not religious. So, I have all these Christians, Lutherans, Catholics, so let's send them to the concentration camps. Get rid of them. They killed Jesus. They deserve it. Religious motive, but not a religious war. Why are our wars not religious when most of us who are dropping the bombs and killing people are some religion, usually Christianity? But when we drop atom bombs on Buddhists or Shintoists in Japan, it's not a religious war. It's a political, yes.
In that example, I don't think we were dropping bombs on them because they were Buddhist and what else? Shinto. I don't think we dropped a bomb on them because they were Buddhist and Shinto. We dropped a bomb on them because they bombed for all of them.
Revenge.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, so it comes back. Okay, so I think we're onto something with intention. So, when we check, let's go back to the whole issue with, say, Israel and the Palestinians. A guy goes to a bus stop, some Palestinian, and blows himself up and kills a bunch of Israelis. Religious? It's usually portrayed that way. Religion, we'll listen to people. We'll see Christopher Hitchens and Sam Harris on it. We'll pull all this stuff out, Islam, look at all the violence. And because they're Muslims and they're violent, therefore Islam is violent. Islam is a religion, Mr. Melendez. Therefore, religion is violent. Follow it? Follow how it's going? All right.
Wait, can you repeat that again?
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. When you come up to the table and the man is doing the shell game, don't ask him what's going on. Don't ask. Okay, but the logic that leads you down that path. Okay, someone does something violent, and they believe in a certain religion. And then somewhere along the line, some person just kind of makes that connection. Oh, because it was a Muslim man who did it, he must have been motivated by Islam to commit violence. And because Islam is a religion and it's an act of violence, and I think it was the motivator, therefore religion, or at least Islam must be violent. But since Islam is a religion, therefore religion must be violent. See how it goes? It's someone's opinion. Oh, sure, it's someone's opinion. I know you're really focused on opinionated today. No, you're right. Oh, no, I agree with you. I think it does have to do with people's opinions. How do you separate the different opinions, though, the religious opinions from their political opinions, and what is motivating them to do so? All right. Oh, I'm not trying to shut up. Just let me get to my next point about anthropology. Does culture influence religion? Does culture influence religions? I agree. I think so. I think anthropologists would say that's true, that the religion usually looks like the culture it's in. So what if a culture is violent? Talk about religion and violence. But how many religious wars have we been in? And how many just wars have we started? I mean, since I've been alive, well, I was alive 72, so we had Vietnam when I was a baby, when I was born. In the 80s, we invaded Grenada, the island of Grenada in the Caribbean. We invaded Nicaragua. What else did we do? Well, we bombed various people. We didn't invade, but we bombed Yugoslavia, bombed Libya. We invaded Iraq. We invaded Kuwait. And then we invaded Iraq again. We invaded Afghanistan. What else have we invaded? Well, we were in Haiti, but that wasn't really much of an invasion. I'm just trying to think of in my lifetime. We did at one time occupy Haiti in the Philippines, but that wasn't during my lifetime. That's a lot of wars. But how many wars based purely that you can identify on religious grounds? Religious people killing each other because the other people are other religion or religious beliefs. How many?
No.
Okay. So, what if a culture is simply violent? So it doesn't matter whether, because some cultures, the violence is just part, and so maybe that's why we see, say, if you're reading the Bible or something, maybe it's just describing how people were. It's not necessarily giving you a blueprint for what to do. People will say, well, you read, and we'll hear this in some of our speakers. The Bible talks about genocide. The Jews are supposed to go into land of Canaan, Palestine, and wipe out the natives and take all their stuff. Okay, fine. Maybe, is that a blueprint for what I'm supposed to do? Or is it just like the person who wrote it is saying, like, this is what people just did. This is what happens sometimes, and we thought it was God's will. This is why it happened and why we were successful at it. Just like it was God's will that we should get to the atomic bomb first. You watch the movie Oppenheimer? We had to get to the atomic bomb first before anybody else. Why? We had to have it first. Power. Or actually, maybe a better example is Manifest Destiny. Remember Manifest Destiny from your high school history classes? What's that, Ms. Cook? Huh? Yeah. Well, they didn't deserve it, did they? Well, why not? If God has given us this land, Wasn't it God's will that we should expand from one sea to the other? Across?
Sounds like a lot of greed, I don't know.
Oh, maybe, yeah. Discovering gold is a big motivator. You know. But why do we come up with this idea of manifest destiny? Who destined us to take all the land from the Atlantic to the Pacific? Who destined us for that? Well, who controls destiny? Yes.
I just think people use the religion as like a way to get people on their bandwagon. Although I probably would say in the Bible, hey, you should have all this land. That they were like, hey, they try to like interpret something to reach and be like, hey, I want this, but the Bible wants this too. To make people feel like, oh, the Bible, I love the Bible, so I'm going to it.
Yeah. Huh? I find it's a venerable text, right? The Bible says genocide's okay. That might get somebody like rethinking their views of genocide. Well, I was against it before, but now that I know that the Lord might be in favor of it, rethink. Yes, it's Rogers.
It's just thinking, like, what if the other people on the land would like, what if God wants us to keep this land and wants you out? Like, wouldn't that create tension and violence as well?
Maybe. How so?
Because if you're saying one group, like the Christians, want this land, and the other group, I'll just say Native American, fiercely want the land, wouldn't that cause violence between the two parties, being like, no, your God is wrong, my God is correct, or no, your God is wrong, my God is correct?
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, that we have the true God, and I think that was, in some ways, maybe the perspective of behind Manifest Destiny, that we're Christians and they're not. We know the truth and the true God. And so how could God allow them? We know how the land should be cultivated. They don't know how to use it, But we know, because we have the truth from God. So to take it away from them is nothing,
What if you don't have the truth from God, though?
I don't think they were that self-reflective.
They definitely twisted it, into their favor.
Well, they didn't think they were twisting it.
That's what
They thought they were superior.
they did more self-reflection.
True. But that's something purely religious. This is our God-given right, our destiny, to have this land. So it doesn't matter who, even if other Christians have it, like the Mexicans or Catholics, take it away from them, find some way to get it from them. Native Americans, get it away from them. Yeah. All right, but we don't typically, if you take your history class in high school, they don't typically present it as like religious. They're Indian wars. They're not considered religious wars, even though some people might have had religious motives for doing it. It's our destiny from God to do this. Maybe. Okay. Psychology. All right, let's talk about psychology. Dr. Dunn. Psychology, the study of the human mind. The human mind. Oh, I gotta take my pills. Did I take my pills? I didn't have. I'm OCD, so I just, need things to keep me regular. Anyway, psychology, the study of the psyche, which literally in Greek means the soul, or the spirit. So the study of the soul, you could also call it.
Holy Spirit.
Is that the founder of psychology?
Yes, it is. The father of modern psychology is Wilhelm Wundt. Wilhelm Wundt. Huh? Psyche? Like this. Psyche. Means soul or spirit. So the study of the psychology is this, we'd say, to nowadays we say the study of the mind, means Krauss, but literally it's the study of the soul or the spirit. Okay? So how the behavior of the mind, but especially, and how it really goes awry. It's what psychology. I mean, there are people who study how the brain works well, how it's supposed to work, but 9 times out of 10, if a person says, oh, I'm getting a degree in psychology, it's usually to treat mental illness, how the brain goes wrong, not how it's going right. Okay? Yeah. So, how the brain or the mind perceives reality, but also how it can distort reality, which we call mental illness. And, why did I write that down? For example, in the brain. Oh, okay. In the case of religion, again, with a lot of these things, a lot of these new fields, with modern psychology, the first thing they started really studying was religious belief and religious practice. Because religion, they want to know, where does religious belief come from? Where do people see visions or hear voices from a god? You know, clearly they come from the mind. I mean, these are all kind of, we're taking a non-theistic view of things. Clearly religion is not real in the minds of these psychologists, these early psychologists. It's in the brain structure. But where in the brain does religion come from? Do people feel transcendent experiences? So this guy, Wilhelm Wundt, is the father of modern psychology. Actually, I want to mention this guy. I don't think I have his picture. Did I put his picture on here? No, I did not, unfortunately. G.S. Hall. I didn't even get his name. What's GS stand for? I forget. Anyways, G.S. Hall was an American. I think he should be called the father of modern psychology because he actually did found the first school of psychology at Clark University. But Wundt established a laboratory where he could test psychological theories, and apparently that's the thing, that Hall didn't establish a laboratory. Wundt kind of made it practical and scientific, so he gets the glory for being the father of modern psychology. Okay, whatever. But interestingly, G.S. Hall, his original study was of religion. He pioneered the psychological study of religion, and he even started a journal, the American Journal of Religious Psychology and Education. So that's how he even started out. Doing his psychology, was studying religion. And then we do have another American named William James, who's a medical doctor, but he never really practiced. But he studied, he was interested in psychological stuff. And he wrote a couple of books, Principles of Psychology. But the famous one he's known for is The Varieties of Religious Experience. He studied various ways that people experienced religious events in their lives and tried to explain them and categorize them. And in his view, he thought that religion helped people live a positive and courageous life. Religion actually helped people accept their life condition, which he thought was a good thing. Marx thought it was a bad thing, For Marx, religion helped people who were impoverished to kind of accept their poverty, accept the fact that the rich were always going to be rich, and get richer, and screw them over. And that was a bad thing that needed to be overthrown. But James saw it as a good thing. It helped you accept what your life situation might be. And so he made this distinction between what he called the religion of healthy-mindedness and the religion of the sick soul. Of the sick soul. I wish he hadn't, because I don't know what these things mean. The religion of the sick soul, religion of healthy-mindedness. Well, what does that mean? Well, the religion of healthy-mindedness was just optimistic. It was optimistic religion, positive religion. We could, and for him, the embodiment of an optimistic, healthy-minded religion was, for example, Christian Science, the Church of Christ Scientists or Christian Scientists. Maybe you've seen some of their, not really churches, but they have like reading rooms, founded by this woman, Mary Baker Eddy. And her insight was, in her interpretation of the Bible, that, illness and disease are really signs of spiritual disturbance in the person. So the cancer you get, the cold, a cold that you get, the flu or something like that, mental illness, these are really signs of a spiritual disturbance. And if you cure the spiritual aspect, then the physical aspect will follow. Christian Science. So you pray, you learn the techniques. And there's a whole course of techniques that I don't think they're very secretive about it, I think. But a whole course of techniques that a person would have to learn in order to call himself or herself the practitioner of Christian Science. So he thought that was optimistic, an optimistic way. There was an answer to illness and sickness and death. It's optimistic. Well, it wasn't that optimistic because, of course, Mary Baker Eddy eventually died herself. So Christian Science couldn't really keep her alive. Just kind of a shock to her followers. So they actually had some woman dress up like her and would go around the city of Boston in a carriage so people would still think Eddy was alive. Because they couldn't admit, that she got sick and died, I guess. Or she just died, They couldn't admit it, so they kind of smudged it for a little while until they just couldn't stop. They had to admit she was dead because she wasn't appearing anywhere anymore. And the religion of the sick soul was obviously, as you can, it's the opposite. It's pessimistic religion. So like Presbyterianism, certain forms of Protestantism, he thought, were very pessimistic. We're all, damned. Well, not damned, but everything we do is wrong. Everything's a sin. You might be damned to hell. It depends on what God has decided for you before you were even born. So Varieties is a classic text on religious psychology. And it's still, unlike other thinkers that we've talked about, his views on things like mysticism and what are still influential, and people still find them valid. Okay? So applying psychology to religious experience. Sigmund Freud. Much of his work was focused on religion. You might say, Ms. Cook, that he was obsessed. But he was all about obsession. Sigmund Freud. You can see his dates there. There's a picture with a cigar. Oh, that's a cheeky monkey there to hold a cigar, Freud. But then again, sometimes a cigar is just a cigar, Mr. Saunders. You don't need to worry about it. If it becomes something else, like a short, blunted sword in your dreams, then you might need some psychoanalysis to it.
Smoking.
What?
Smoking something other than a blunt. Cigar.
I don't think so back then. Although more people were taking drugs back then than you might have imagined, sir. A lot of people 100 years ago were high because they put cocaine, they put alcohol into just about everything.
I know.
They didn't know. Huh? No. It's a cigar. I'm smoking a cigar.
Are you sure?
Well, no, I'm not. No.
So he might be on.
Okay, yeah, he might be on drugs. You got me there, Miss Howerton. Hopefully not for this picture. I know, hopefully not for this picture. Well, Yeah. Sigmund Freud. Yes, one of his earliest articles right there, Obsessive Acts and Religious Practices. He was fascinated by how religious practice seemed to imitate obsessive neurosis. Oh, just for his background, his parents were Jews, but they weren't apparently very religious, a little bit observant, but they were kind of ambiguous about their Judaism. He grew up in the city of Vienna in Austria, which was a very Catholic city, and he disliked that immensely. He did not like it, which I can imagine as a Jew, he probably wasn't treated very nicely. He became a doctor, a physician, interested in brain research, but then that led him to mental illness. And so, yeah, he was just interested in how there were parallels between the repetitiveness of religious ritual and that it had to be performed so meticulously, and people who were obsessive personalities. So like praying the rosary, if anyone has ever prayed the rosary, it doesn't really work, because most people don't, a lot of people don't practice like rituals that much anymore. Catholics, I should say, like praying the rosary or novenas or stuff like that. So I'm trying to think of good examples that you might have encountered. People like the sign of the cross. Okay, it might be has to be done in a certain way. You do it more than one, or do it when you're, happy. Like, when I'm watching my soccer matches, guys score a goal and they make the sign of the cross and stuff like that. Some of them do. Or if you're scared, people make the sign of the cross, or start saying a Hail Mary. I don't know why it's always the Hail Mary, but anyways, Hail Mary full of grace, if they're scared or something, But it doesn't mean anything. It's just protective. It's a protective motion. It's a defense mechanism. If someone's scared, usually. And that's what Freud figured out. He thought, well, religion is really, it said this, is really, an obsessional neurosis. Religion is really a form of mental illness. So that's where he's coming from early on, that religion is a mental illness. And we'll hear this in some of our speakers as we're getting later in the show. I hope so. Well, does Christopher Hitchens say that? I know Bill Maher does, the comedian, but I don't know if I'm been showing any of his stuff. Well, I might. Anyways, but yeah, when we listen to Sam Harris later, who's a neuroscientist, studied neuroscience, PhD, I think. He talks about religion in this Freudian way, that, religion is one of those things, maybe you've heard this, that, can only the only thing that can make a sane person, i.e. mentally healthy, Mr. Henry, do insane things is religion, right? Have you ever heard this? No? If you want to get someone to do something crazy, then give them a religious reason for doing it. This harkens back to Freud, Religion is a form of mental illness. You're a little bit crazy if you believe in religion. And so where does religion, he tries to explain religion, and his books, Totem and Taboo, The Future of an Illusion, Moses and Monotheism. I think I give you a reading from The Future of an Illusion. Yes, Mr. Saunders? I think it's in the readings, The Future of an Illusion, Ms. Colonna. Yeah. A smile, yes. Have you read it yet? I'm not trying to put you on, I'm putting you on the spot. But I'm being at it. Huh?
You already put me on the spot.
Sorry. Well, I'm not going to be angry if you didn't do it. I hope you do it. Or at least look at it. Sigmund Freud, The Future of an Illusion. Yeah, it's in the readings.
We'll read.
Sure. Don't read out the dark.
There's a list of readings in the syllabus. Please do them. It's a short reading from Freud's book, a couple of chapters, so not that long. But it gives you his idea of what religion, he thinks religion is. It's an illusion. It creates an illusion. Moses and monotheism. Yeah, go ahead. Oh, yeah. I'm going to ask you questions on the quiz from them.
Do this week.
Is still due, yes, until tomorrow. Yeah, there will certainly be questions. If anyone's taken it, there may have been a couple of questions that popped up from the reading, Karsten Kolpe or something else. The reading in, Rodriguez and Robinson and Rodriguez. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm going to catch you on the readings just to make sure you're doing them. Just to let you know. So, what did Freud think? I'm not going to go into all of his ideas. I'm curious about religion here. What he thought religion. What is the psychological basis of religion? Oh, well, anyway, I guess I have to get into that, do I? All right. Well, quickly. I'll see as much as I can do in a few minutes, and then anyways. The Oedipus complex. Oedipus is a famous myth from a Greek playwright called Sophocles, who lived in the 400s BC. Sophocles. The 5th century BC. All right? 400s BC. He wrote a play called Oedipus Rex, Oedipus the King. Oedipus the King. And I lost you, didn't I? Oh, you do? Oh, you do? How do you know? Wow. It's better than I've done. Anyways, according to the story of Oedipus, does anyone know the story of Oedipus? I mean, yes, if you want to say it, but is that...
His fate was that he would kill his father and marry his mother.
Yeah.
I guess they basically, his mother and his father, they heard about it from someone who was a little baby. So they basically abandoned him in hopes that it wouldn't come true, but it ultimately happened.
Well, that's what Greek tragedy is. That the Greeks love that in their tragedies. That, someone at the beginning of the play is told something awful is going to happen, tries to avoid it, and by trying to avoid it, makes it happen. You know, the Greeks love that kind of stuff. It's also good for opera too. So Oedipus, but Oedipus didn't know that it was his father, right? He's on the road somewhere. He encounters his dad. They don't know each other because, Oedipus was sent away, right? Because you said they sent him away so it wouldn't happen. And he grew up and so didn't recognize each other. They got into a fight. And he ends up killing his dad, who turns out to be his father. And then he goes back to the city and bumps into his mom, who, of course, he doesn't know is his mother, and marries her. And, of course, Well, go ahead. Oh, well, they do the nasty, naked pretzel, which is horrible, huh? I don't know. Antigone wasn't his mother?
He had daughters.
All right, but you're not allowed to eat pretzels until you're married, by the way, so... Just so you know, all right. All right. Well, I guess I got to get deeper into it. Yeah, I'll have to look that up. I forget that his mother is like. Okay. So you can teach this. Why are you? I gotta let you. Huh? I did not come up with that. That's from the comedy Cheers in the 80s.
I screamed about it like my English teacher did.
What?
He screamed about the whole situation about the attitude, like marrying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Her life is crazy.
So you know it. Oh, okay.
I know. I'm quiet.
Okay, thank you, miss. See you. Bye, miss. Have a good day. Bye, miss. Have a good day. You're welcome, sir. Right, I've added to your vocabulary. Hopefully I've added to your knowledge as well. See, that's my job.
The Devil's Tango.
Huh?
The Devil's Tango.
Devil's Tango, yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm trying to be discreet, Mr. Saunders.
Well, what did you call it? The what pretzel?
Oh, it's from the Naked Pretzel. I just thought it was hilarious. It came from the comedy Cheers in the 80s, the 80s comedy Cheers. The Naked Pretzel is another way of describing the sexual act. Anyways, yeah, he had sex with his wife. So.
Yeah.
Sex with his mother, rather.
Yeah, the parents, I remember I had at least learned about it in honors in high school.
You're better than me. I usually avoided stuff like that. Honors?
So we also learned about those roles. Oh, Macbeth and what's the other one? Oh, Dante's. Yeah, we actually had to do a play on Dante's.
Really? Did you read the whole thing, or just read one of the books, or?
We read a lot of prompts. It wasn't
okay,
but we went through everything. I think we went through all the layers. Because we did get to the part, we skipped some of the middle parts, but we got to the bottom layer that was cold. We talked about the beginning layers, the wheel, the people pushing the thing.
The purgatory, the various punishments of people for various sexual or crime, sexual stuff, or robbery, or something.
Yeah, we went through a lot of, I think a level where we had to act out
that's
punishment. Our English teacher was an interesting guy.
He was?
Yeah, he was cool. bongos during class.
Really?
Yeah, he was a drummer, and I was like the drummer for the school too. So he was like, "Here." He just had bongos, and I got there early. I was like, "Bongo." So he was a cool guy, but definitely interesting person.
What did you learn?
I got an anus left.
Oh, okay, good.
I'll take that.
All right, yeah.
And he's gonna be Reese.
Very nice, sir. Have a good day, sir. No, maybe, I hope. No. No. Oops. Forgot to turn it off.